Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who have passed away in our community, especially John Patrick Dietz, Elizabeth Bowen, and Alyssa Williams. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Present.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild?
Here.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Smurl?
Here. Dispense with the review of minutes.
Third order, 3A, Controller's Report for the month ending February 28th, 2025. 3B, Lackawanna County Planning Commission Subdivision and Land Development Evaluation Reports received March 17th, 2025. 3C, Minutes of the City of Scranton Board of Ethics meeting held November 20th, 2024. 3D, Minutes of the Scranton Firefighters Pension Commission meeting held February 19th, 2025. 3E, Minutes of the Non-Uniform Municipal Pension Board meeting held February 19th, 2025. 3F, Agenda for the Non-Uniform Municipal Pension Board meeting held March 19th, 2025. 3G, Minutes of the Scranton Police Pension Commission meeting held February 19th, 2025. 3H, Minutes of the Composite Pension Board meeting held February 19th, 2025. 3I, Correspondence dated March 19th, 2025 from City Business Administration regarding Department of Public Works budget transfer. 3J, Minutes of the Scranton Board of Ethics meeting held January 15th, 2025.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have two quick ones. So, Friends of the Poor and Family to Family Food Basket Program is going to be having their Easter basket giveaway, but they need some donations. And donations which would be baskets that can include candy, small games, toys, and stuffed animals, and must be wrapped in clear cellophane. If you have any questions, you can call 570-904-0455. And the drop-off would be at the warehouse location on 240 East Elm Street, Scranton, PA, between 10 and 6, Friday, April 11th, and Monday, April 14th, which would be the deadline for the donations. And also, this Thursday, the Victor Alfieri Society over in West Side will be having tripe or pasta and meatballs, half and half. The price is $12 for members, $14 for non-members. And, you know, of course, they say thank you for your support. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. Anyone else?
I have something to know. I know Councilman Smurl had already mentioned it in our time of silence, but just wanted to bring up the passing of Liz Bohan. She was a friend. She was really important to the Scranton arts and theater community, and she passed over the weekend at the age of 43 due to heart issues. So we're very sad to hear of her passing. And I just wanted to provide some of the information for services for her. She was the co-founder of the Fringe Festival and the managing director of that, and also served on a number of boards. But the services will be held on Friday for her at, hold on one moment. Friday at 6 p.m. at the Neil Regan Funeral Home on Pittston Avenue. Visitation will be from 4 to 6, and those attending are asked to wear a mask. So just wanted to mention that. And this weekend, the Scranton Fringe Festival was going to be having an event from Scranton to Ballina, a gathering for the arts. They're still planning on having that event, even in her absence, but as a way for people to still gather together and to remember her. But the reason that this event started, this was is a cultural exchange with Ballina, Ireland, our sister city, and it's a way to help connect artists and audiences across the Atlantic. This fall, the Scranton Fringe is going to be premiering a new theatrical work, Ulysses of Scranton, and so this event will help to fund that project. So this is going to be this Sunday, March 30th, from 4 to 6 at Sterna's, with a suggested donation of $35, even if you can't make it. But if you want to donate to the Scranton Fringe in honor of Liz, I know she would have greatly loved that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more announcement. Elm Park Church is going to be providing tomato vegetable soup tomorrow night. Tomorrow afternoon at 12 p.m. There's no cost, and it's open to all. Thank you.
Thanks. Frank?
Fourth order, citizen participation.
First, Joan Hodowanis.
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. DPW has now gone 84 days without a new union contract. Are negotiations still progressing?
Yes.
Okay. It's been a while since I heard anything about our famous walkability connectivity study. Is that project still viable? Has it been put on the back burner? Is it awaiting funding? What's its status? Does anybody know?
I believe it is still viable. I don't know what position we're in right now.
Okay. One of the reasons is, now that spring is trying to make an entrance and, there's no snow on the ground, so you can see the landscape. And I got to tell you, when I was in the Army, I spent 13 months in northern Turkey, a place called Sinop. And it's a very poor area. This is in the early 90s. I don't know what it's like now. Very poor. We had 365 local nationals who worked for us at Field Station Sinop. And they were so poor, they would steal our toilet paper out of the bathrooms. That's poor. Okay, toilet paper was apparently a big status symbol. But when you walked around downtown Sinop, the city is 2,000 years old. You didn't see any cigarette butts on the ground, although all Turkish men smoked. You didn't see any trash on the ground. It was kept relatively clean for such a poor area. You walk around Scranton. A week ago, I picked up a beer bottle on the steps of the cathedral, had to trash that. You get up in the morning and you're walking around for breakfast and mass and whatever, and you hear the sweet sounds of leaf blowers. And you see these people around the courthouses and around businesses, and they're blowing the leaves into the street with other trash and cigarette butts and everything else, and, crushed water bottles. So they can all just float down the street and block the drains at the corners, I know in the walkability study, one of the things that they proposed was planting additional trees. And I don't know why we just leaf blow our garbage into the streets. It makes no sense. Somebody's going to have to go and unplug all those drains, are they not? Doesn't that cost money? It's like we have no pride, no civic pride in our city. We have beautiful buildings. We have an architectural history, okay? Yet, walk around the downtown, park your car and just take a walk. See how many water bottles or coffee cups you see sitting on ledges of businesses. And all kinds of, and just walk, a couple feet and look down and count the cigarette butts and all the other trash. And this is not something that the public school should be teaching. This is something you learn at home from your parents, and it starts there. And you keep your own property clean and well maintained. We're not talking about building a swimming pool or a gazebo. We're talking about not trashing your property and not trashing your city. I have some friends that are coming in late May. One is from Christchurch in the UK, and one is from Australia. And it's going to be embarrassing to have to explain to them all this trash. Yeah, I don't understand it. Flags is another thing. PNC Bank has a green space right in front of its offices on Penn Avenue. There's 3 flags up there. I think one is the state flag, one is the PNC flag, and one is the American flag. American flag's starting to tear up on the upper corner, and it's dirty. The PNC flag, the whole bottom part of it has ripped away, so you've got like this 3-foot streamer just hanging down. Where is civic pride in the city? Businesses, people who work downtown, people who live downtown. I just don't understand how you can leave a beer bottle on the steps of the cathedral when there's a trash receptacle 30 feet away. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Les Spindler?
Hello, Council. Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner. Here we go again. Every spring I come here and talk about the same spot, coming off the expressway, taking the Providence Road exit, before you get to Redner's. There was a homeless camp there. It's gone, but all the garbage is left there. It was cleaned up last year, and now it's back again. You know, if these homeless people are going to do that, they shouldn't be allowed to camp there. It's ridiculous. They make a mess and don't clean it up. Next thing, the corner of North Washington Avenue and Lackawanna Avenue. I was there going to Bona Pizza the other night, and going towards the Radisson. There were pave cuts made, and there's no markings on the street now telling you who's to turn and who's to go straight. Used to be the left-hand lane went straight, and the right-hand lane would turn. So light turns green, I go straight, and people from the turning lane go straight too. I couldn't move over to go to park in front of Bona Pizza. So they got to put those arrows back, or there's going to be accidents. I mean, I know which lane I'm supposed to be in. He said, I mean, I go that way all the time. Next thing, this is a big one. Last year, Chief Carroll from the police department was here when we had a lot of trouble with gangs, and he said the majority of the people in these gangs are juveniles, and they don't have enough beds to put them in. Well, I might have a solution. I don't know if anybody saw in the news last week where Susquehanna County is closing their prison. They said it's not viable to keep it open. There's only like 20 inmates. So I think our city officials and county officials and anybody else should get in touch with Susquehanna County and see if they could use that as a juvenile detention center. There's plenty of rooms, plenty of beds there. I know Lycoming County is supposed to build one, but here's a building right there that's going to be sitting there empty. I think our city officials should seriously look into that. And that way there'll be no excuse to put these juveniles back on the street. Next thing, coming into the city on the expressway, there's police have an electrical sign that says, beware of motorcycles and runners. I agree, beware of motorcycles. Motorcycles belong on the roads. Runners don't belong on the roads. We shouldn't have to be looking out, driving down the highway, looking out for runners. Back in the day when I was a lot younger, if I wanted to run, I'd go up Lake Scranton and run around Lake Scranton. You're not in traffic. Like I said, the roads are for motorized vehicles, not runners. It's ridiculous that these runners run through the streets and they think, and technically you have to give them a right of way, but they shouldn't be on the roads. Roads are for motor vehicles. Last thing I want to say, it's not city business, but when Donald Trump put together a hell of a Defense Department. They're texting secret war plans, and God knows who's going to get them next time. Luckily, they went to a reporter this time who didn't make it public. But maybe next time they'll be texting their enemies that we're coming after them. Great job, Donald Trump. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Liz. Ron Ellman?
Good evening, Council. Last Friday, the Times ran an article of Allied Services' war against cats. This despicable, disastrous decision will only result in the destruction of their habitat and them. Allied Services is totally and fully responsible for the action of Vice President Borgner. He has abused his power and position not only against these animals, but against the will of many volunteers doing what's just and right. Mr. Borgner's ignorance of the subject matter only accomplished the removal of shelters. The 60 cats are still there, now without shelter, food, and care. I think it'd be a catastrophe for him personally. And Allied supports his actions. If Allied Services ever did have 65 years of a so-called impeccable reputation, Mr. Borgner shameful actions have certainly tarnished it. I think his actions are border down to animal cruelty. They contend the answer is to spray, neuter, and remove these animals, but they made no attempt ever to do so. Well, thankfully, the Animal Kingdom has Scott Welch and others attempting to care for this problem. Allied has doomed these animals needlessly, probably by starvation and sickness and so forth. And Allied has the audacity to issue the statement they are the victims of ill-feeling and villainization by the community. You know, like us, I imagine these animals only wanted to live another day, have another shot at life. Over the past 30 years, Roseanne and myself have probably adopted out, neutered, spayed, cremated, and buried probably well over 100 cats, taking them to the Old Forge Animal Hospital. To see such actions by Allied they were needless. They weren't going nowhere, they weren't bothering nobody, and they had shelter. Now they're all over the neighborhood looking for food and so forth. You know, every morning I get up, I throw out like a quarter pound, a half pound of peanuts in the backyard. For 30 years I've done that. I go down 2 or 3 times a week, I buy apples down to the river. Some fool in Harrisburg leveled the trees of a beautiful forest. It would have been like the Abingtons. There's 8 deer down there that I see and I feed. I don't know how they live. All we got now is a big black macadam racetrack for quads and trail bikes. There's no shade, no trees to sit under. There's no benches, no waste cans, no porta potties. It just seemed like a forgotten project. These cats seem like a forgotten project, and I just fear for all these animals. I don't know how the 8 deer live with no trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elman. Lee Morgan?
Good evening, Council. Lee Morgan. The first thing I have here to say is Ron was talking about feral cats. I'd just like to say that every year I catch a couple by my house and take them to Dalton and get them fixed. And you know, I really find it pathetic that the city just has its priorities upside down, not just on feral cats, but on a host of different issues that have to do with the things that you call quality of life. A lack of investment in the proper things and wasting of grant money like the Doherty Park in downtown Scranton, just the most ridiculous waste. You know, when council gets elected and the mayor gets elected, they should really try to make the quality of life better for the residents that live here, and it hasn't happened for a long time. We waste an awful lot of grant money. We need to go back to the neighborhood associations and find out how they see the world and why they haven't done better. But, you know, I'd like to talk today about politics in this city. We need candidates, but we need independent candidates, not Republican candidates, not Democrat candidates. We've had a host of Democrats run this city for a very long time. You know, in the beginning, when I first came here 40 years ago, that council with Mr. Azori and Mr. Polchis and a couple of the other people were really well informed. And it just seems that over a course of 40 years, we elect people that are less and less capable of doing the job. It doesn't mean that you're not honorable people, you're just not capable. And it's become something that's just not workable. When you talk about our city and you talk about its heritage, we've torn down so many buildings that were so vital to the history of this city and didn't even blink twice. Okay, now, over the course of my lifetime, Jimmy Connors was such a great mayor in this city, and he was a Democrat. He was a staunch Democrat. I mean, he'd walk 20 miles on nails to be a Democrat. I mean, this guy was really something, but you know something, he understood something. He represented the people. He was outside with the people. He went to meetings. He listened to people. He tried to steer grant money places. He wasn't a partisan person. He didn't sig the license and inspections departments on people that didn't agree with them, okay? And we've gone the wrong way for a long time. Now we're going to listen to people talk about the great debates we're going to have that are going to come forward. We need public debates. We need to change the mediators. We don't need the League of Women Voters or any other league to come forward. We need to take questions from the residents, okay? We need to have the people involved. We need independent candidates for council and mayor, not Democrats or Republicans, independents, because this hasn't worked. This government isn't working for us, okay? And it's not going to work because politics is partisan, it's poisoned, and it's killing us. Donald Trump's not a Republican, he's a Democrat. He's always been a Democrat. And the people that surround him, they're Democrats too. Okay, and they threw all the Republicans of the old guard out of the Congress and Senate. He didn't do it, the American people did, because they're desperate. They wanted a change, and the only way they could do it was to get rid of the Republicans in the Congress and Senate, the old guard. And when you see what he's actually doing, John F. Kennedy, be proud of him, okay? I mean, and you just see all he's doing. $4 trillion in investments already in America from all over the world, and more money's coming. The Houthis, they're going to be history soon. Okay, he killed their their drone maker and their bomb makers and carpet bombed all of them. Joe Biden didn't do that. They were sinking ships in the ocean. They were stopping free navigation of the ocean there. He put the Iranians on notice. This guy means business, and the world knows it. The war's going to come to an end in Ukraine. It's coming. Putin knows it, okay? And the guy from the Atlantic, he's the same guy that talked Trump down the last time with all his silliness, because this is partisan politics. But you know what? What it comes down to is the American people. They want to change. They want, you know, you talk about homeless here. The people are homeless because all their jobs went to China and all over the world. Trump's bringing them all back. We're in a renaissance in this country, and it's just starting. And you know what we need? We need a council that understands that and starts to focus bringing jobs here and the opportunity for employment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Bob Bolus?
Evening, Council. Bob Bolus, Scranton. One of the things I think we need to really start looking at is the residents have to start reporting illegals that are in this city. Help the police department to do their job so we could get our city back, where we could leave our doors open again, leave our cars unlocked, and start getting back where we were, instead of where we're letting them take over our city. And it's time people did something. I mean, I look at the potholes we got on Lackawanna Avenue. I hear all this cleaning, we're doing this and doing that, the main artery in the city. You can't even drive down without banging into a hole somewhere. And it's a damn joke. Gerald, I hated to see that you got kicked off because you didn't do it, but I would recommend you do a write-in. You've done your job for the city, and I believe you've been impartial to no matter who you were that came here, and you looked at it fairly. I think you should just run a write-in. I got kicked off the ballot, but I'm appealing it because the judge, we had a rogue Charlie Spano, a rogue Republican that filed against me, put in like a joke type appeal that he put in, a complaint. Then we're appealing it. The judge became his lawyer rather than the judge being the judge. And I hope the judge hears this today, because when we're done, I will be getting my expungement, and I will be getting done what had to be done. We had two people, Oaks and Slaughterback, my neighbors, where I have a right-of-way going through there. I went 35 years back on my deeds because the judge originally never paid attention to the surveyors, never even allowed them, wanted to do a telephonic conference without letting the surveyors actually show them what the heck was going on. Well, I went back 35 years, and there's two easements to the right-of-way. The one is Pennsylvania Gas and Water that goes 850 feet through the area on the right side of the right-of-way, which is an easement, and it's very clear in the easement that you have to keep the grass cut, and you can't put a structure on it. Well, a sign is considered a structure, and I removed it because we were cutting the grass, and that's what I got charged with. And I made the plea that I took a guilty plea on it on two summaries because I was told it wouldn't affect my expungement, and I was lied to. Well, that's all being reversed, and I will be a candidate when this is over for mayor in the city of Scranton on the Republican Party. I'm not going to get pushed around, and I'm not going to be intimidated by dirty politics in this city. I'm about my city. I've always been that way, and I'm not going to take their BS. So that's where we're going. You see what Gahan's trying to do? He's an embarrassment to the Democrat Party, wants to change everything. Oh, I want you to do it this way, filing a lawsuit, and he expects us to pay the fee. It's not going to happen. Let the Democrat Party do what they're doing. They've been doing it for years to replace people, commissioners or whatever. He's looking to get a little lapdog to sit there to do his bidding. He was the dictator when he was here. If you recall, I put the head of a skunk, his head on the body of a skunk because he skunked us. I warned people in Lackawanna County what he did here, he was going to do over there. 33% right off the bat and his dictatorship. So he's trying to skunk us in Lackawanna County. And I hope the Democrat Party gets the way they've always done it. I'm a Republican, I don't care how they do it, but they have a system that's been in place for years and should continue. You know, to see what goes on, the other part is we need to remove Biden signs. I don't want to spend your money or the city's money, because I'm ready to file the lawsuit where you're gonna have to spend a lot of money now to come in and remove them. He's embarrassed us. As you watch the news media and you see what's going on, they stole our money. He caused nothing but grief. Thank God Trump got into office and the people he's put in there with Elon Musk. I just came back from Strasbourg and I had a Trump trailer up there because they were coming to protest Musk and Trump, and we put them in their place tonight. You don't like it? Get the hell out of the country. They're making a change, and they're making it for all of us. They're making America, America again, and letting foreign countries know we're not going to tolerate a war anywhere in the world, and we're going to put you in your place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bullis. Lynn Lebrowski?
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Council. Lynn Lebrowski, homeowner, business owner. I just wanted to mention first off that I had the honor of attending Lieutenant Hopkins' funeral last week, and it was really a beautiful tribute to his life and service in Scranton. If anybody had the opportunity to listen to the comm center call, it was very heartwarming. Also, I wanted to thank the Southside Neighborhood Association for having the candidates at their monthly meeting last week to be able to speak and just talk about what their ideas are and introduce themselves, and that was appreciated. So, and then also, I just wanted to send a thank you out to all of our local and state and law enforcement, including our DA, and for getting another drug dealer off the street. I don't know why that story got buried on page 9 in the newspaper, but for some reason it did. And then I know we talked about last week, I mentioned South 3rd Street, and you were going to have somebody go out there from DPW, but nothing's been done so far, so I just wanted to mention that. And then the anti-litter account, I don't know if this has anything to do with that?
It does. I will go over that in fifth order for you.
Okay, all right, perfect. So I just going to ask about that again. And then another concern I had was, and I looked in the charter, and there, I think it's code 439-15. I believe there is a code violation for parking on sidewalks. Does anybody agree with that? Okay.
Yes, there is.
So I don't know why code enforcement isn't handling that issue, but when I called to report a violation of vehicles being parked on sidewalks, which are obstructing the view of getting out onto Cedar Avenue, I was told I had to call the Scranton police. So that seems to me like, why would we take our police off of fighting crime to do a parking enforcement issue? To me, that would be a code enforcement, but didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Code enforcement would be if it's on their personal property, if it's somebody's yard. But the sidewalk, naturally, we have to maintain them, but they belong to the city.
Oh, the sidewalks belong to the city?
Yes.
Oh, then why don't they replace them?
Sidewalks where, though?
Your sidewalks aren't part of your property?
You're on your street sidewalks.
So in front of your home, you have a sidewalk?
Right.
You're not supposed to park on sidewalks, correct?
Right.
But you're saying that the sidewalks belong to the city, not the homeowner?
Yeah, the city, like the police, will do the ticketing in the front. They won't go on your personal property. That's the licensing, and that's code enforcement.
Right. So I did call code enforcement, but they told me I had to contact the Scranton police, but I'm not going to argue about that and waste my time. I know we have a hotline now for potholes, so I don't know how that's working or if it's in effect or... But I'm just curious if any of the council members, which I'm sure you do because you live in the city, or the mayor, do you guys like drive around the city? Because there's potholes every block, so how do you possibly report every pothole, and what gets determined on which ones are the worst? Or because there's like a gaping one right in the middle of Main and Luzerne. You have to go around it into the turning lane of the other lane to get around the pothole, or you'll break an axle. I mean, it's really bad. So it just seems to me that if a city official or a leader of a city drove around, they would, every block there'd be a pothole, so they could make their own list. But I didn't know how that hotline was going. I know I reported quite a few. I didn't see any of them get filled in. And then I have like people reaching out to me on social media in different ways, asking about like their streets being paved. I know that the mayor's doing some paving projects. There happens to be one in particular, the woman that I talked to lives on Matthew Ave, but, and just going up to Matthew Ave on Ash Street is horrible. Matthew Ave itself is horrible. Then there's an alley behind Matthew Ave, which I am getting information that there's emergency vehicles that use that alley. It's called Spencer Street, and they've been trying to get that paved for 30 years. So it's, all three of those streets I just named are like horrible. I mean, I don't know how you're even supposed to drive on them. Another person reached out to me from the South Scranton, and they were inquiring about trying to have something for the kids in the neighborhood. So I know one of you at least sit on the South Scranton Neighborhood Committee, and maybe something could be, I mean, I'd be more than happy to help with it, but maybe we could plan something like for the children, an event, maybe like a block party, or I don't know, something like that, just an idea. Wouldn't be probably a bad idea to do that in every neighborhood in the city, but Southside in particular was interested in doing something like that. And I can't get to everything else because that's my 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the info. Appreciate it.
That's all for a sign-in sheet. Anybody else like to address council?
Good evening, council. I'm back last week. I don't know if you recall, I came about a letter that an attorney hired by the city of Scranton as a debt collector, and I provided copies, and it was going to be investigated. So one of the things I'm back for is to see if the research has come to any conclusion on that. And when I got home, I found that I had to go to the post office and pick up a registered letter, and I did. And it turned out to be another letter from the attorney. And this time, on second page here, it says that the city of Scranton has put a lien on my property for that amount. And it's interesting. Now that the year has changed, so something's wrong with the accounting that attorney is doing. In that first letter, if I'm not mistaken, it said I owed for 2022. Now this one is saying for 2023. So just by the fact that there's some error in the documentation there, all of this should be thrown out the window. But anyways, $378 is supposedly what I owed for the trash bill in whichever year it was, 22 or 23. And the total is, let me speak clearly into this mic here so I'm heard, $884.40. And like I said last week I was here, it seems to be a scam of some sort. He's more interested in collecting for himself than the trash. I mean, how could you jump that high for why doesn't the city of Scranton send me a notice? Listen, you owe taxes, and then even without the notice from the city of Scranton, I had to find out about this from an attorney, for Christ's sake, you know. And I came to the city. The clerk couldn't tell me anything. I'm being repetitive here from what I said last week. I called a few times. I went to the trash disposal place over there in Poplar Street. And I took a picture of the notice that they haven't had a garbage can for over 6 months, I think, at least, for the citizens of Scranton. And the other thing I mentioned was that their garbage pickup crew has changed since I moved here about, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. I came here to work at the Tobyhanna Army Depot to provide services here as a veteran. And I had no choice but to buy this house. And this is what I'm getting. Supposedly, the mayor of Scranton once lived there. This is rumors from my neighbors. And the other little thing I heard is that police running from child abuse in New York landed there, and finally he was caught for child abuse. So it's got a little history there. But I just also got my tax assessment notice, and I haven't even put a nail on that house yet. And I bought it for about $100,000, rushing, because according to the governor of Pennsylvania, when COVID started, realtors were not allowed to show or rent property. So now I had to come and work here, and I had a deadline to go to work at Tobyhanna. So now what do I do? Where do I live? And I found this place, so I had to buy it, and that's how I got into it. Almost, you could say by force, I couldn't rent a place while I was working there. So now I'm here permanently because I sold my property in Florida to pay for this one.
Mr. Voldenberg?
But what I'm getting at is that the tax assessment said it went up to $179,000 without me even putting a nail on that house. So what I'm getting at, the real point is that the lien on my house is now for either $100,000 or $179,000 for a $300 bill. That does not compute. That does not make sense.
Okay.
No
all right.
way.
Hold it. Mr. Voldenberg, did we receive information back on what we sent in?
That's correct, Mr. Smurl. It was investigated by our city treasurer, and he placed a call to Mr. Rodriguez yesterday to explain the bill, the $378 refuse bill.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Is that letter from the Portnoy law firm, the letter that you have? Mr. Rodriguez, is that from the Portnoy law firm, that letter?
It's the only one handling.
Is it from Portnoy? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Portnoy was hired, by the city to collect delinquent taxes. Typically, annually, the trash fee is $300. So if the trash fee is not paid 23, 24, 25, whatever, there's interest that is placed on that for being delinquent or not paid. Now, when you get the tax bill, they roll the $300 right into your actual full tax bill. It used to be separated, but that's what, if it wasn't paid, that's why you would receive a letter from the Portnoy law firm. They collect the delinquent taxes specific to the trash fees.
Okay, when I first heard about this, I actually told them, I think this is a scam here. You're trying to get money from me because I pay with the bill that I get every year from the city of Scranton. So I told them that this was, if anything, it was in dispute. Despite me telling them that, it kept on rolling, and to his advantage, so the attorney's advantage. So I'm back here to find out, the attorney I spoke to, as I mentioned, from that benefit I have with my job, suggested I speak to you and have them drop the other charges, and if I do in fact owe that amount, $374, I'll gladly pay it, but he's not stopping, even though this is in dispute. And you see me here, I'm not playing games, I'm here.
So after you came last week, you gave us your contact information. Kathy and Frank got that to the city treasurer. The city treasurer gave you a call. They left you a message to call back, and the treasurer is going to explain to you the fees and what's owed.
Not that I know of. No, I'll come tomorrow and find that person and speak to them in person.
The
His
treasurer.
name is Adam Joyce.
Okay, you're right to me.
And Mr. Rodriguez, I'm not sure if everybody got them yet. I got my reassessment for my house. Believe me, it was an eye-opener. everybody's getting those reassessment letters. We haven't reassessed properties since 1968. So everybody's, getting a bit of an eye-opener. We won't ultimately know, because every property is being reassessed. There's a formula attached to that formulates the actual tax bill. So we won't officially know, but you will have the opportunity to go to fight the increase. Once we see the tax.
I want to, because I saw that list that they also have about properties that you could buy that, for that reason, and it's incredible how many. So what that's saying from that list is that a lot of citizens of Scranton have left this city because of the high taxes on properties. Just gave them up. They couldn't afford it. They were old. I don't know what reason, but there's a lot on the list. And who's taking advantage of it? Other people from like New York coming here and just, buying them for $2,000, for Christ's sake, to pay for the taxes. I know, I'm sorry, I'm taking a little bit more, but those are great words that Trump mentioned. Let's make America great, okay? And we start, a mountain is built by pebbles.
Thank you. The city will contact you. Our treasurer will call you again, okay? We'll try tomorrow to call you again to explain it to you, okay?
Okay,
Our city treasurer will try to call you again tomorrow and explain that to you, okay?
Well, I'd rather come and speak to them.
Well, that's fine. You can come and speak to them. Thank you.
What time can I come?
All right, thank you.
What time?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. First of all, on 3A on your agenda, it's very important to notice that the controller's report is listed as February 28th of 2025, but if I believe you take a look at the documentation that was provided by on the PDF, the name of the file is actually 2024. That's kind of important because when you save files with the wrong date that use the same structure, you run the risk of overwriting the previously stored documents. So obviously, if you go and take a look at the PDF that's in your file, it has a wrong date on the top of it. It's the correct information, but the name of the file is wrong. That's a critical mistake for ITU, whoever put it in there. You don't want to put in a date that is going to possibly overwrite and destroy previous documents. A month ago, I talked about the computer terminal downstairs, that it was unsecured, it was open, front-facing USB ports, and the last time I brought to this body an IT issue, it was about the security of the network and the structure back before you upgraded computers. Ignoring that, you got hit with a ransomware for the city, and what that cost you was $175,000 a year in increased insurance funds for the city. You have the same thing down there for a month. It's a 5-minute fix, but it's not important. I guess increasing the cost of your insurance again, maybe another $175,000 a year because someone cannot address a computer in the lobby is worth it. Is the pothole database public-facing? I've reported potholes. I've taken pictures. None of them have been taken care of. Is there a public-facing site where we can see what potholes have been reported, when they were reported, and when they were fixed? I doubt it, but I would like to inquire with you if there is an actually front-facing or a plan to make it front-facing, and I understand the resistance to that is because if it was reported and people can track it was reported, then the city's liable for any damages to cars. The Parking Authority is going ahead with the Barnacle plan. Fantastic products, except if you turn on your heater for 15 minutes of your dashboard and slip a credit card along the window, you can pop them right off. Put aluminum foil over them, you knock out their ability to track in GPS. As an added bonus, if you steal the SIM cards from them, they allow you unlimited internet access. Before we move forward with plans like this, maybe it might take review of how good the product is. When you have a metal boot strapped to your vehicle, it's tough to get it off. The barnacles are being defeated all over the place. I talked about 324 North Washington, and I'm wondering if there's going to be an update on that. Looking at the buildings nearby, they had underground vaults, and considering there is horizontal cracks in this building that are visible in front, that's a dangerous issue. And seeing as I could look into the basement and see the metal underpinning of the building itself, the metal I-beams of that structure signify that there's a strong likelihood that there's an underground vault there, directly under the sidewalk. That's the third time I've brought it up. Hopefully someone will get a report on it. Pilot update. How much have we collected from 2025 and who was paid? Do we have an answer on that? The HUP test is now 1 year and 3 months old into a 2-year contract. Do we have an update on that? The bus system has real GPS. It's a shame that shows you the location and the path. It's a shame that our trash trucks don't have that ability. It's a shame that Rubicon doesn't have that ability, and it's a shame that in 9/11, the buildings got knocked down, and there were financial institutions in there that were destroyed. Out of that came the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which was meant for continuation of businesses, continuation of processes, and continuation of city functionality. Why don't we have maps? Why don't we have backups? Why are we at risk? Who here doesn't understand the Sarbanes-Oxley Act? And if they don't, why not? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Virgil Argenta, Scranton. They're finally taking the Christmas lights down today at Naog Park. Do we have a cost for that? And there's a big rider truck up there. Are we paying to store them somewhere else? Or do we have somewhere where they're going to be?
They're putting in the new building. That's
Okay.
behind the
Thank you.
garage.
Last week, I inquired whether the city would pause funding for NeighborWorks until after the November election due to a conflict involving a NeighborWorks director running for city office. My question is not, I repeat, my question is not about whether this person can run for office, as Mr. King, you answered that last week, but rather about the potential conflict of interest between the city and NeighborWorks concerning funding and projects. The city of Scranton has formed a partnership with NeighborWorks. According to the director, this collaboration is highlighted in newspaper articles. It's featured on both the city's website and NeighborWorks' website. Furthermore, the city of Scranton has extended a loan amounting $180,000 to NeighborWorks. Has that loan been paid back? Is there any documentation on that loan? Interest rates, when it's going to be paid back, what it was for, who approved it? Has the council given any attention to the letter received regarding this matter? Mr. Smurl, I'm only asking you because you're the council president. Can you confirm if council had received this letter or not? And if anybody had looked
The
into
letter
it?
for what?
Regarding NeighborWorks and the potential city council candidate?
Well, how I see it is the budget for 2025 was formed and signed in 2024 before anybody became any candidate for anything. So how would that?
Okay, but if the council can't decide if there's a conflict or not, maybe an injunction can be filed to present the issue to the courts. As a taxpayer and a concerned citizen, I would prefer to avoid any other controversies involving the city of Scranton that is a preventable one. Keep in mind, this has nothing to do whether this particular individual can run for an election or not. It's all about ethics. 3C, the Board of Ethics meeting last 45 minutes from 6:02 to 6:47. 3 out of the 5 members attended. The only business item was the solicitor's invoice. Can anyone provide the information on the fee we are charged for 45 minutes for the solicitor's work for the Ethics Board? They also discussed financial disclosures by elected city officials. Participation in financial disclosure by city officials. It was reviewed by the board and a motion was brought by Chairman Falchuk to draft a letter to the law department emphasizing the importance of following up on financial filings for the few delinquent filers. Is it possible to identify who the elected officials who are delinquent in filing their financial disclosures? And is there a penalty for that? And will it be enforced? 3D, the retired firefighter representative seat has been vacant for not 2 years, 3 years. What is Attorney Larry Durkin's view on this? After all, we pay Larry Durkin. What does the solicitor have to say about this matter? What does council have to say about this matter? You go to the firefighters looking for their votes when it's election time. Has anybody stepped up? Were you loud and proud for the Firemen's Union? 3 years is a long time, but I bet you have them signing your petitions. On the non-union municipal pension board, Mr. Voldenberg, he's always the proxy for council members. Is that because there's no council members available for the meetings, or that nobody has enough time to show up for these meetings? And it's nothing against you, Mr. Voldenberg, you're just the proxy. But what's the reason for it that you're a proxy for council members at certain board meetings? Before the business administrator takes any consideration on board seats, ask for her opinion on the 3-year vacant retired firefighter seat. Is there any legitimate or legal reason why the business administrator should have a seat at the table? This person is already involved with many other departments and will not have voting powers, so why does she need to be on the seat? What's the interest? What's her involvement considering their extensive department affiliations? How can she satisfactorily oversee these multiple departments when she's wearing so many hats in the city? Have a nice night, Council.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mike Mancini, Scranton. Welcome to Tee Off Tuesday. Allow me this evening to discuss concern to well-minded individuals like myself. People are concerned about our current climate or our police calls. We have individuals who've been robbed at gunpoint inside their homes and money taken. We've had someone walking around with a machete. We have homeless sexual predators with little oversight. We have massive amounts of drugs seized in drug raids. We have an individual arrested with a pill press. We have opioid deaths without anyone being held accountable locally. We have no narcotics unit in our city. We have unwanted gang activities. We have law enforcement being targeted, to name a few. We have someone running for council with what appears to be a major conflict of interest. A director at NeighborWorks. His function is to take city grants and disperse them to the public. As others have mentioned, there's a $180,000 loan that they are responsible for. From what I hear, people are upset, want to file an injunction to withhold funding until after the election. Politics and nonprofits do not mix. It's not Burger King, Todd. You can have it your way. Make a choice. What's more important, Council, or your current position? You have until tomorrow, according to the Lackawanna County voter registration. If not, from what I understand, people were proceeding accordingly. Does any one of you care where the leachate lines are in the city of Scranton? They were not approved by council, zoning board, planning commission, and they have had no public input. This election is based upon trust, and we'll do the right thing. Gene Peters knows where these leachate lines are. He also knew about the sewer authority sale that included a provision with a max of 1.9% per year to the rates through the end of 2026, which would have resulted in only a $63 increase. Instead, it's $220 a year. Google Gene Barrett, Scranton Sewer Authority sale, and look at the very first link. It's a letter from a former criminal of a mayor thanking him for a wonderful job about the sewer authority sale. Look down a little further, read about Green Ridge Neighborhood Association, what they went through with Gene Barrett and the sewer authority. Took a job with PA Water after the sale, along with Shrive. Well, this current expansion team with an administration inherited Jessica Askra, the current solicitor, who's part of the city's legal department when that sale took place. Unclean Gene signed away her most important asset. Thinks the good people of Scranton will just forgive and forget. Good people do not forget. Ugly politics needs to stop in our city. That's what caused this current situation. Tuscan chicken sandwich got us into this mess, along with arrogance at the voting booth. We all learned as children, stranger danger. You get what you vote for. Now you know who Paige Cognetti is. Look around. This is how she handled things. The privileged and those with certain last names will stand in the back of the line. The good people of Scranton need to come first. As an independent, I promise to always put the good people of Scranton above any politics. I see people, I don't see parties. I believe that our city is starving for someone to step forward and step up to ensure that every citizen has a voice here in the city of Scranton. I would be humbled with your support to help to make sure that families have a good future in our city. I'm not a politician. I'm proud to call Scranton my home. This current climate has my full attention. Change for the better is so needed. Party politics have caused this mess. It will take well-intended, like-minded individuals to focus on what is truly needed. The good people of our city know exactly what they will be voting for. They care about our city. We deserve better. It's time that we give our city back to the people like amazing mayors of the past. Jim Connors, Dave Wenzel, Gene Peters. We'll be honored to be the 37th. Change is coming. God bless. Hoppy. Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Council.
Anyone else?
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rick Little from Scranton. I just handed out this newspaper clipping, which has been on social media, and the reason I'm handing it out is because so much of it is hearsay, and I've been like looking at the charter for Lackawanna County and Scranton. And as I said a few weeks ago, it just seems totally unconstitutional to me because there's no due process and checks and balances. If you read this article, it's really a lot of hearsay. You have an employee at the hospital who says something, and in a court of law, that everything's hearsay. But, you know, it's really everything's business. This is a big business state, you know, health care, especially mental health care. And this article's about, you know, some crazed homeless man attacks hospital staff. That's the headline. You know, I just like people to be able to look at critical thinking when they read these articles, because I've had articles when I had stuff stolen at Scranton Housing Authority. I see it in the paper. This is more than 10 years ago. You know, they broke in a storage locker and stole my guitar, and then I see it, and I'm wondering, how did they get that? Well, they go down to the police department. The reporters, they see it on the police blotter, and they report it. But, you know, this guy's going in front of a preliminary hearing tomorrow. I went there today over to the court to see about court watching. I've done a lot of court watching over the past 30 years, especially family court, where there's really no due process whatsoever. But the charter is the Constitution for Scranton, and the home rule charter is the Constitution for Lackawanna County. Who is in charge? And it's supposed to mirror the PA Constitution and the U.S. Constitution, which you know talks about the press, a free press. But it just seems so tainted to me, and I see the biggest problem is in the judiciary, especially under Commonwealth law. And you know, the guy's having a preliminary hearing. Shouldn't the public be able to watch what happens in the judiciary branch? I go there, and the sheriff tells me, the sheriff, who is the arbiter, the person who's supposed to uphold the U.S. Constitution, that's his job. That's what a sheriff is compared to a police officer. But it just seems lacking. And I just like it is at the top, there's all this judicial corruption, people, you know, doing things they have no authority to do. But it makes more business. And, you know, I see bar associations, it's a trade union. And it's a trade union of fear. But just talking about Scranton, what is the judicial branch in the Constitution of Scranton? Is it your lawyer? Does anybody know what the judicial branch of Scranton is? Because I just see all this money coming in, most of it from federal money, and then they get the money, and all these people buy the most expensive law firms, white shoe law firms, and they're crossbred into the judiciary. And I think law students should start court watching so it's public, because everything in this article is pretty much hearsay. And I'm really curious to see what happens in the court. It's a state court, but is there any judiciary in Scranton?
Thank you, Mr. Little.
You don't want to answer me?
Good evening, Council. Dave Dobson, resident, taxpayer. Once again, I'd like to propose to the fine people of the city, and only the city, we don't need up valley or down valley, people, they're profiting by our 40% nonprofit or tax exempts. To get a committee going to study these issues and see if we could turn this around with the state constitution. It's time, even if you had to get to federal court. I don't know how you do it right now, but. And I'm also recommending that we plan a tag team for council so we can get more than 5 minutes after all the work that Mr. King did and was just turned away in 5 minutes, and any other bozo. In fact, there was an old representative, state senator, he got to go up twice at the end of the night when everybody was gone. Reassessment is in, and I felt that, you know, as long as they hold the other houses to the same standards, the house was priced pretty much at market value. But I have a lot that I paid $3,100 for, adjacent to my house. It's 40 by 140, which it is non-buildable. They have it listed for $32,000. I mean, give me a break. We're going to have to go to court on that. I bought it in 2003. You would have to get an exemption for it to build on it, and I don't think that would ever happen. I figured out what DOGE stands for, and that's despicable oligarchs grabbing everything. So, you know, that's Doge for you, running around firing people out of veterans. Boy, I'm glad I wasn't drafted, because I didn't volunteer when I seen the way people are treated. You come back after you got hit with the bouncing Betty with no legs and half your guts ripped out and possibly missing half of an arm or something, and they consider it a miracle that you survived, but why? You know, these veterans are really being ripped off with people being fired and laid off, and it's a shame. Our Bobby Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr., he's sending vitamin A and cod liver oil, and by the way, he made $850,000 last year for referrals for lawsuits against vaccine companies. Isn't that special? And I saw Mr. Lutnick, our Secretary of Commerce, on the television, worth $2 to $4 billion, and he said only fraudsters would complain over missed Social Security payments. His mother-in-law would not. And excuse me, but if you're worth $2 to $4 million, I think your mother-in-law, if she was nice, could just give it back, and you could take care of her for that. More newly disabled die than ever before a hearing on Social Security. And by the way, good news, Tesla lost 1/2 of its sales in Europe and US, and there's a new battery in China. They have their own separate company to build electric cars, and it recharges allegedly in 5 minutes. So you could imagine 5 minutes as to sitting there for 2 or 3 hours or whatever. Hope you have your own power plant at the house. And in Ukraine, Putin bombed a power plant 2 hours after agreeing to a ceasefire. And I mentioned General Dynamics. They brought their production up 400%, and that is Scranton jobs. You cannot get a parking space on Mattis Avenue, but someday they'll probably be idle because nobody's interested. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson. Anyone else?
Good evening, Scranton. Mark Margavage. A few weeks ago, I got to go like this so I could see you guys, otherwise it's all blur. A few weeks ago, I spoke about the doors being closed downstairs. I only heard from Councilman President Smurl. Just curious if anyone else wants to give their take. Can this be opened by council or not? I'm not asking you to just say no. In our home rule charter or anything, does it give any authority? Because there's many candidates that are running on that. And I'm just curious as to if that is actually something that we could count on. If they were to be elected, if we could assume that that would be something that they could try to bring up and put it in front of the council to be passed. Does anyone know for sure?
I don't know for sure. I mean, I was against it.
Right.
Still am, but to answer your question, to be honest with you, I don't know, but it would require more than 2 votes. Think about it.
No, that I understand. I'm just wondering
Oh, I believe it's a possibility.
You think it is a possibility?
It could be brought up, or a motion could be made, obviously. I think it, to be honest with you, I'm not saying it will or it should, but
right.
I think something like that could be brought up.
Because
we could look into it, but I believe it's a Mayor Strong
understand that, yes.
Government that we're running here.
Okay. So this was, I guess, at the Southside meeting, I attended it this past week, and we did have just about every candidate, but I believe 2 that are currently running. So it was nice to hear from just about every candidate to speak there. The mayor did come, and when she did speak about the doors, it was, once again, the big issue was without the weapons, basically concealed. You know, she's not talking about any other type of weapons minus guns. So, you know, someone had brought up metal detectors, but of course you can't do that because then you can't strip it if they're allowed to obviously have it on them. And then she also stated that people were at people's desk at lunch breaks, after lunch breaks. Well, I mean, I don't really buy that as an excuse. I feel there's locks on doors, even though I did check a lot of doors. OECD door is open right now. You think it would be closed, but it is unlocked. So there is locks on doors. So why can't they just lock it if they have the only person in the office? I mean, they shouldn't be leaving an office unattended anyway. So that's just another nonsense reason, in my opinion. And the last thing she stated was that there was actually 3 code enforcement officials. Councilman Schuster, you could attest if I'm swaying anywhere. You were at that meeting. And she said 3 code enforcement officials were shot at. Some were not here, but somewhere around the world. Monroe County? Well, it's just, you know, that's awful. But what's interesting to me is that's the only department that you actually have access to here if you come in City Hall. So I don't understand how that could be a viable reason to say we're going to keep it closed. But just more so, you know, if City Council can't do anything, I understand. I get it. I just wanted to get a confirmation that indeed they could not do it. But I feel like the code enforcement is, besides that, and probably DPW are probably the only 2, the biggest complaints through the city if people have an issue, whether it be just or not just. So I don't understand how code enforcement doesn't have protection when everybody else does. But lastly, before I go, everyone remembers the investigation into licensing inspections. I don't know if you can confirm or deny. I will follow up in an email, but I did hear that there was a $5,000 fine given out. The reason why I bring this up is because I actually have a sworn statement from city officials claiming that no such fine happened. If I present that to you, and there is indeed a fine that was given, will you take any action on that?
What was that, a fine for what?
A fine given from the investigation into licensing and inspections. I was told there was a fine given, but I have sworn statements from city officials claiming that there was no fine given. Will you take action if I could show?
Who were we?
I don't know if it's true. What I'm asking you now, if I could give you a statement from the city officials claiming that there was nothing, and you guys read the report, and ladies, sorry, would you take action if I could provide that to you? A sworn statement going against the opposite of what they obviously claimed. Do you understand what I'm asking?
I don't understand. No, I don't. In clarity's sake, who was fined?
Well, I don't want to say who. I don't know if it's good information.
Well, you don't have to say who, but I'm not aware of anybody being fined after an investigation.
You're not aware of anyone being fined?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to leave something and
I'll send it over
our
an email.
solicitor, when he comes back and look at it, or that's fine, but I'm just not totally understanding the whole situation with regards to the fine.
I don't have proof of it. I've just asked if I did present it, if it was not true, if you would look into it. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. Bailey Smurl from Scranton. So even though the Rubicon contract was approved, I'm going to kind of keep, I guess, asking the questions until there's some sort of answer. And I guess first, a point of fact. You know, I'd been confronted this last week by the mayor, alleging that I was alleging all sorts of things about her in regards to the Rubicon contract. To be clear, the only thing I said was that it's interesting that the purchaser of Rubicon, the new parent company, is from Portland, Oregon. I still stand by that opinion. I still think it's interesting. I didn't allege anything else. But I do think it's very important that this contract was not approved until March 11th. The last one expired on December 31st of 2024. Somebody within the city decided that they were going to renew that before council approved it. It was brought up that there was an outstanding invoice for this new contract and that it wasn't paid, as if that's a good thing. There shouldn't have been an invoice. And we were using the software during that interim period. So I guess what I'm really requesting is that if somehow maybe we could relay these questions back to the solicitor's office, because he's really kind of the one I'm curious to talk to about this. You know, I think this is kind of a big deal. Nobody really seems to care. After we got past the accusations, I brought these concerns up to the mayor. She told me she was not aware of this issue, and that if Rubicon is not upset, that there's no problem. Well, of course Rubicon's not upset. The contract was approved. Of course they don't care. And, you know, it was said that there's no aggrieved party, so there's no liability for a lawsuit. Well, in this instance, the aggrieved party is the taxpayer. If the taxpayer can't rely on council and the city to, in conjunction, manage the funds of the taxpayers, and they're just going to do whatever they want, approve things without holdover extensions before the council meeting, I literally don't understand what the point of the council meeting is. It's kind of like theater. So in some ways, I also think that you guys as a council should be kind of curious about this, because it seems to me like regardless of what was going to happen that night, you know, they were doing whatever they wanted anyway. And I just don't understand how that's allowed. And I feel like if I don't come and talk about it, it's just over and under the rug and nobody really seems to care. But these are important things. And once again, the aggrieved party is the taxpayer in this instance. If the city's not following its own laws for procurement, this is like contract 101 stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting the mayor said she wasn't aware of it. I tried to have a nice conversation. We didn't get to complete the conversation. She walked away. But, you know, I have no ill intent here. I just think these are kind of really basic things. And once again, it's the more you look into this stuff, there should be kind of simple answers, but it's the more you pry into it, the more complex it gets trying to find an answer and figure out what's going on here. But once again, if it's happening with Rubicon, like, the question is, how many other times does this happen? And how many other times does nobody question it or look into it? And the administration or the IT office or whoever, somebody decided to just keep using the software. So I don't know, that's really all I have. Just kind of trying to understand that situation. I still don't understand it. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. King, do you have any motions or comments?
Just a few things. Last week I inquired about the specifics regarding an update on the completion date of the pickleball and tennis courts. So I was informed that work continues at NAOG on the multi-court project with the targeted completion date in summer of 2025. Access to the courts may be impacted by ongoing work happening at the NAOG pool project. That's the update on that. I did have the opportunity to attend the State of the City address today over at the Commonwealth Medical College with the mayor. I thought it's important to speak to a number of things that were identified as far as accomplishments over the last few years. When I got on this council, we had no credit rating. We came out of 30 years of financial distress. We now have a BBB plus credit rating. As far as responsible government, we were awarded and utilized $155 million in grants, earned $6.6 million in interest on city accounts. Excuse me. We saved $2.2 million by refinancing a $36 million bond. Under public safety, we received $3.5 million in federal grants for police safety and training equipment. We invested $1.5 million in police vehicle fleet. We added 5 new officers to the police force, wrote a total of 1,153 quality of life tickets. As far as our neighborhoods, we've invested $26.7 million in our parks, added a total of 14 new park amenities citywide. We expanded the city's park system to 32 parks. We invested $9 million in paving projects, demolished 72 hazardous structures. As far as growth and investment, we invested $22,970,260 in stormwater infrastructure. We provided 9,000. We sat and listened to you. If you don't want to listen to me, you can leave. I sat and listened to you. Get lost. We provided 9,592 building permits within 3 years. We added 238 new retail and dining establishments. And local construction projects invested a total of $5.8 billion across the city of Scranton in 2024. So, are we perfect? Far from it. Have wonderful things occurred in this city over the last several years? Absolutely. And it's in a far better place than it was when I arrived 4 years ago. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of those accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I have a few. Mr. Voldenberg, we spoke about a property on Dixon Avenue earlier in caucus. I'll send you over some questions about that property and what the address is for inquiry.
Thank you.
We have not received an update on the HUP test in quite some time, so if we could also send that into the business administrator to get an update on the HUP test. I know some time ago we were waiting on some things from the county, but let's see where we're at this point in time.
I will, sir.
Thank you very much. We heard back from Eileen Cipriani about Ferdinand Street, and she stated to council that it was out for bid, so the paving should occur on Ferdinand Street coming up soon. For the last 3 weeks, actually since February 27th, I've asked for updates on the Meadowbrook project and updates they're doing on the plan for that project. They met with neighbors prior to February 27th, but the city and the engineers were meeting on February 27th, and for the last 2 weeks, I've asked for updates on that, and I've been given basically the same answer for 2 weeks, that they're continuing to meet. But can we ask the same question again, Mr. Voldenberg? When will the residents of Meadowbrook be getting those updates for the plan?
I will, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you. I did receive a call from some residents in the Sandy Bank area. There was a cleanup done. First, SPD went out to the area, and then DPW followed up with a cleanup, but along Olive Street. The residents over in Sandy Bank were very happy to see that work had been done and some cleanups had happened, so they wanted me to reach out to the SPD and DPW to tell them thank you. I did speak to DPW dispatch over the weekend, because it was over the weekend when I received that call, and they said that they would get that over to the workers on that project. So thank you, DPW and SPD, for going out to the area. That's all for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, thank you. First off, I just wanted to respond to one of the questions that was brought up with regards to the doors in the building. And to my knowledge, I thought it was not under city council's, but under the mayor's purview for security within City Hall. I don't have any evidence of, like in the charter, that being under our responsibility. We can certainly investigate and see if that's the case. But I mean, I'm not really apt to open up the doors, but I still have no issue with finding out whether or not that is in fact something that City Council is able to change, or if that's just under the mayor.
I will, Dr. Rothchild.
Thank you. And we had received a letter from Sue Luckenbill, who lives in the hill section nearby the Sorrenti Center, and I know she's brought some concerns in the past about the Sorrenti Center, specifically with regards to the some of the equipment and things that have been stored around that area and are a bit unkempt. So I would like to ask to see if we're able to put some sort of screen or fencing around the area, or what the plan is with the equipment that's currently being stored outside. So if we could get some responses to the letter that she had forwarded.
I will, Dr. Rothchild.
Thank you. And I wanted to thank the Parks and Rec Department. One of the properties that I had brought to them was located in the 400 block of Prescott Avenue, and it's an empty, vacant lot, and I believe it's land bank owned, and we've got some barriers there, City of Scranton DPW barriers, but then there are also very large cement barriers, so I'm not sure why those are there. I know it was being used as like a staging area by one of the utility companies, but not sure if those are ours or not. So I appreciate Parks and Rec for starting to clean up that area. They did take down a number of like the weeds and overgrowth that had been there since the warmer weather last year. But Mr. Voldenberg, if we can also just find out about those cement barriers, who those belong to.
That's correct. The project is over. I'll have the barriers removed.
Okay, thank you. And there's a property, I might have mistakenly brought it up in the past as being on Monroe Avenue, but it's 801, 803 Madison Avenue, and had a fire in the past and has boarded up windows, and I'm looking to find out the status on that property, if it's going to be on the demo list.
That's on the blighted properties list. I'll get I'll get the status on it.
Okay, thank you. And I did ask last week, I know a number of residents brought it up about the paving on Lackawanna Avenue, as well as like the signage and painting. But I don't believe we've received anything back on that, have we?
Not as yet, Doctor.
No, okay. So if we could send
I will.
another email regarding that, I'd appreciate it. And then council had also received complaint about issues with the University of Scranton and the Hill section, especially Parade Day, but there's some issues that are ongoing throughout the year. And so the resident detailed quite a number of them. And I know in the past, the city has met with like the University of Scranton and their officials or their police department, like in advance of Parade Day, for example, to see what could be done to curtail the events of that day. And I'm wondering if that took place this year, if it's still taking place. And I'm planning on setting up a meeting with the University of Scranton to discuss what's happening with the students in the Hill section and how it's impacting the quality of life of our residents.
I received that email, and we'll reach out to the chief tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And there's one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and it was mentioned during a resident, and kind of quickly, so I believe I heard right. So the resident was talking about criminal activity within the city and listing off a number of crimes, and one of them was homosexual predators without oversight. So I'm just making sure I heard that right, but if that is in fact what I heard, I don't really know what the person was specifically referring to. I also didn't know that predators could just be homosexual. So if they're trying to imply that predators are only homosexual, I thought that they could be of any sexual orientation. And I know that there's been a lot of incidences of heterosexual men sexually assaulting and raping and molesting women and children. So not really sure where they come into play or why this specific community was identified and talking about predators within the city. So that to me was just inappropriate, irresponsible, and misleading. And I just wanted to call that out. Also, the person had mentioned how ugly politics needs to stop in the city, and I couldn't agree more with that statement. And in fact, one of the things that I think needs to stop are people using the podium in this room to campaign and for their own political gain. I think it's a disgrace and it's embarrassing. If you want to have your own campaign rally, do it outside of City Hall. I'm all for people running for council or for the mayor's office, but I know I'd appreciate more if people brought local city issues and city business to the table here more often. I've seen the good side of politics in this room, and I've also seen the ugly side of it. So, like I said, I would agree with that, but don't really know where the speaker was coming from about homosexual predators. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
A couple comments. So I'm reporting out again. This is 3 weeks in a row where I brought up the issue. It's a huge safety issue up at the lookout. And this issue remains, or has been since the fall. Could have been rectified, could have been taken care of. So by the students where I work, said they would handle it, would have been done. So 3 weeks in a row, I'm asking for clarification because each response is vague. Regarding the conditions. So again, it says, well, removal of trash and graffiti occurs multiple times per week. And I understand that, and I applaud DPW for staying on that. But again, this property stabilization enhancement team that I'm still not even aware of who it's comprised of, what department it reports to, because it was just created, or maybe it was, I don't know. Did anybody else here on the dais ever hear of that committee or that team? Or
I think it's the Blight guys, but...
All right, well, I asked that last week too. Is it the Blight? Well, that wasn't clarified either. Okay, but it doesn't matter who they are, but the issue remains, it's a safety issue. Someone's going to get hurt up there. I'm glad the garbage is picked up, and there's going to be garbage every week because it's on a, it's on an elevation where stuff gets blown around. We talked about the wind earlier. It's windy every day. But, so I said, so my answer I got was the structural repairs are on the list for future work. I don't like the word future because, I'd want to hear this spring. I want to hear immediately because I think it's warm enough now to move some of these rocks around and put them in a safe manner. So I'm not happy with that vague response, but I'm hopeful. I'll keep my eye on it, and I know other people will too, to make sure this gets done in more speedy fashion, because it's very, very dangerous. Also, Mr. Voldenberg, we talked about 324 North Washington, another huge safety issue last week. Did we hear anything? I know we wanted them to go back and take a deeper look. And
The code enforcement manager was going out again today.
Today? Okay, good. Well, let's get some feedback next week for that. And the pothole hotline. So let me tell you something. I know it looks like it's something new, but it's not. There's an article from May 28th of 2024. It was implemented then. So I think it's just been resurrected this time of year. But with that said, you know what? I'm curious too. We listened to a couple residents. I'm curious. What is the status? What is the process? It was never explained to us. I know there's a little blurb that says you can call, and that's great, and you can report a pothole. But what happens after that? What happened last year? It was instituted last year. What was the success? We don't know. And so, like, this isn't a new program, but like any other program, I think council needs to be updated. I think we need a little synopsis or some data, how it went last year, how it's going this year, how it's tracked. That's important too. So, because we report them here in fifth order. We got to complain about a pothole. So, if they're already been called in, we don't want duplicate, cross lines on information. So, I would request that if we be provided a synopsis and as the process and the tracking and how this is actually going is, I want to hear some successes with this because we still get a lot of complaints about potholes. And like I said, this isn't a new program, just resurrected this year.
We'll get that information.
Thank you. And I believe that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. These are responses from last week's questions that we received from council. NAIOG pool renovations on June 5th, 2024, administration. City Council and the Recreation Authority met at NAIOG Park along with the media and introduced the plans for construction for the new swim complex. That day, we also announced the completion of the summer of '26. Now, parts of it are going to be completed during the summer, but we're not sure with all the other construction is, will you be able to use those other things that are completed? We're not really sure of that. So to give you a better idea of where we are and what stage we are at in the park, I went up and I took a bunch of pictures and I have them printed out, and they'll also be available if you contact Mr. Voldenberg, and we will get them to you for anyone that can't get up and see them. The first pictures, this is 1 through 4, these are pictures of the new pool that's being framed at the park, so it is well underway. This looks like it's about 3/4 of the way finished for the framing. And then from 5 through 8, this is the vault between the pools that catches the water in between the two pools. If you remember the old one, this is pretty much how the old pools were laid out. And it also gives you the steel framing, other pool accessories, and on other photos, there are pictures of the all of the stuff. If you remember when we did it, people went to the park and everyone picked out different accessories they'd want in the pool. This is all actually on site now. So you can go up there and you can actually see this stuff. So everything that we said was going to be there is actually on site now. And there's more pictures of the sliding board. The slide is up there. It's physically sitting there. And then photos 14 through 18. These photos are for the renovation. This is the new pump house. It's also the new pool, the pool house that's being completely renovated. That's all underway. And the retention pond that is already built. And then there's pictures here of all of the underground piping. You can see them coming to the pool, to the splash pad, and there's also piping left out for the lap pool. So that is all going on up there right now. So I know nobody believes we're going to have pools this summer, but we have spent like 23 months working on this with Mayor Cognetti and Eileen Cipriani are on the pools throughout the city. And most of them right now are under construction. So all of these pools, not our fault, they were basically falling apart. So yeah, they had to be closed and rebuilt. But we can't correct the maintenance flaws in the past. But what I can tell you is that this summer, our children will have clean, safe, modern swimming pools that are well maintained throughout the park. Beginning this summer, we plan to have Weston Field indoor and outdoor pools finished. Newly refurbished Connell Park will be open. The Western Park Pool and Nova Brino Splash Pad will be open. Plus all of the other playgrounds that have been completed over this past year. So the fact is that we will have pools open this year and for our kids, and we will have parks that are open. So if you'd like the copy of these or copy of the pictures, just contact our council office, and then Mr. Voldenberg will have those that he can email to you if you're unable to get up there. This is also pictures of, this is the butterfly playground. That equipment is on scene now, or on site right now, and I believe they start putting stuff in today. Foundation is in, the concrete's poured, but they have begun to do that. That will probably be able to be accessed from the other road, so you won't have to go into the main pool area to get to that. So I believe that will be ready. It's really moving fast, so maybe ready in a few months, but don't hold me to that, because if it rains or something happens, God forbid I said something that's going to be done, and it's not. The other question is for the Environmental Advisory Council. The Environmental Advisory Council does not have a budget, so we do not provide them with any money. So the remaining meetings they have are scheduled for May 19th, August 25th, and November 17th. The anti-litter account that we were asked for, what that is being used for, that actually is part of what the city is redoing, cleaning up all of these items that are, this one actually was closed on file of Council 136 of 2003. However, it still remains on the books. So our law department has drafted a repeal as part of what they call Clean Up the Code 2025. We've done one section of those already, and there are many more of them coming down just to get all of these accounts that are they're empty and they've been closed, but they are still on our books. So that is part of what we're trying to get cleaned up. We also had a question on the crosswalks project, if they will continue. So we plan on continuing the crosswalks project in the spring and then pretty much into the summer. And also adding what we didn't do, adding to the school crossing walks, you know, the big letters that say school zone and stuff like that. But we'd like to get that all finished. So it looks like they're going to be starting soon as long as the weather cooperates. You can't do the paint when it's freezing outside because it doesn't stay. The pilot payments to date. We've discussed this in caucus, and this will be made available on the website, City Council website. But the University of Scranton, this is for 2025, $150,000. PA Game Lands, $750.58. Mary Mother of God Parish, $100. Midtown Apartments, $10,000. Boys and Girls Club of Northeastern Pennsylvania, is $2,000. So the total we have received as of today in pilot donations is $165,238.30. And that we will get back onto our website. The street sign question about the sizes and the letters and all of this, this was another one that Mrs. Lebrowski had questioned. So the answer we've got from the administration is that we go by PennDOT rules for signage. The pages numbers are on here for you, that if you look that up, because it's about 800 pages long. So every street sign we make is according to their specifications. So unfortunately, that's how they're being done. I know they're different sizes, but if you look at their website, you will see what I'm talking about if you look at that. The other one that we have, I guess we're having problems with, is the Meadowbrook project. There's a lot of changes that I guess the neighbors had wanted. I believe the changes are in. The new map is finished. I really can't read that, but if someone would like it, just contact Mr. Voldenberg and we'll send it to you. They say that they have been working on all of these changes, so I believe these are also available. If you would like to get them, I will make sure Mr. Voldenberg has them. The other thing with the projects is how many people are really signed up to give the city access to get on to their property. I was told there's 47 properties that require easements from for the city of Scranton to go on them. Some of these properties have had damage for the past 20 years. So we finally have the opportunity to repair this. We have $12 million, but we are actually not doing this. Project is being done by the State Department of General Services. But the city of Scranton must obtain all of the easements. That means our tax dollars are being paid to all of these people. I have no problem with that. But we've sent people out to appraise them, and they were all given the appraisals and given the value and have been given the offer from the city. I believe we have 3 that have signed out of 47. This is tax dollar money that we have to do this with. So God forbid we don't watch every penny and they come back and say they want $10,000 to get on their yard. Well, that's simply not going to happen. So that's what's going on over in Meadowbrook. And that project, if we don't get moving on it, I fear that $12 million can disappear like everything else has been disappearing the past 2 months. We have one more problem, one more situation on East Mountain. The stormwater on East Mountain, if you remember a couple weeks ago, we approved all of that. That is all supposed to have gotten started. But we still have one person holding out that wants more money for us to go on their property. We had people go up and look at it, get an estimate on the property, and give them what the value is. And they want a lot more money than that. So if that one doesn't go through shortly, we plan on moving forward with East Mountain Project. And what will happen is that will be pulled out of this phase 1, and that will put that house, or that project, into phase 2. But the problem with that is if we do that, there's streets down below, Blucher Street being one of them. We cannot pave. Until we get all of those projects finished up there and get the water line or the drain lines run, we are not able to pave all of the streets because we will have to cut them up if we do. So that's what's going on up on East Mountain. So I hope we can get that thing resolved, but I'm not sure how that works. And that is all I have, Mr. Voldenberg.
President Smurl, just
yes.
Briefly, just to reiterate what my colleague, Dr. Rothchild, indicated, all 5 of us up here are elected officials. Some have been elected multiple times. I'm not aware of any one of the 5 people sitting up here ever showing up at that podium to campaign to serve as a city council person. I will tell you what I did. I went out and got my 188 signatures, and then I went out and knocked on doors through the neighborhoods, met with people, talked to people. I had one fundraiser. I opened up a Facebook page and got the second most number of votes. That's how I got elected. I didn't get elected coming in here campaigning week after week after week. I have no problem with people coming in expressing concerns. Sure, that's not an issue. That's why we're here. We're here to listen to those concerns and try to ameliorate any of those problems that exist. But I think it's disgraceful as well to sit here and listen to people come here week after week after week trying to campaign for a position. Go out and knock on doors. That's how you get elected. Go out and meet the people. That's how you get elected. Go to neighborhood association meetings. That's how you get elected. That's how everybody up here got elected. None of us went to that podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Voldenberg.
5B for introduction, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement and memorandum of understanding between the city of Scranton and the Borough of Moosic regarding coordination on zoning, planning, and code enforcement of 53 Glenmara National Boulevard.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution ratifying execution of the purchase agreement with Mid-Atlantic Waste Systems for 2 refuse trucks.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, I'm happy to see that these trucks do contain body scales. And this was part of the 2025 capital budget. It came in slightly over budget. The original estimate was $310,000 for the 2 trucks, but that estimate was done over a year ago. But happy to see we're getting these trucks, and happy to see the trucks that we are purchasing do have the scales included.
all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution, appointment of Paul W. Welby, Scranton, Pennsylvania 18510, as alternate member number 1 of the Zoning Hearing Board for the City of Scranton. Mr. Welby will replace Albert Young, whose term expired July 1st, 2024. Mr. Welby's term will expire on July 1st, 2028.
This time, I entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
6th order, 6A, reading by title, filed to council number 62, 2025, an ordinance accepting the proposal by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to purchase a right-of-way and a temporary construction easement of a portion of city-owned property located on the easterly side of Mattis Avenue with tax map number as noted for purposes of the Cedar Avenue Bridge Replacement Project, and authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into the necessary documents to convey the same.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
6B, reading by title, filed to council number 63, 2025, an ordinance amending file to council number 10 of 2024, establishing regulations governing excavations within the public rights-of-way of the city of Scranton.
You've heard reading by title of item 6B. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6B pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
7th order, no business at this time. 8th order, no business at this time.
If there is no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.